Hey guys, welcome back to another Nizbop Yap Sesh. Today we have a little bit of surf in the back. Sorry if I suck here, but today I just want to take a few minutes to talk about. As a kid, I think one of the biggest questions we would get asked like constantly is like, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Like, there's no way you grew up and never got asked that question. At least an Eastern culture. And I think that's something we see as like something really basic. Let's just say it's a very common question. Ever since we're children, we're basically thinking of, oh, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna be when we grow up? And the answer to that question changes a lot as children. I wanted to be a firefighter first, and then a doctor, and then I wanted to be a astronaut. I think those are pretty common. At the end of the day, once we grow up, we end up identifying with that. We end up going to college for that, and we end up picking that. I feel like that does have a little factor into what we end up doing. But my point of today's conversation is why we shouldn't let that identify us. As in, I feel like a lot of people solely identify who they are as a person based on their like career. Whenever somebody has issues in life, I feel like this hinders it, as in finding who we are. So I'll explain that a little further. So I've met some people who in college were struggling with picking what they wanted to do with their lives, and sort of like this identity crisis of like, there's something I want to do versus what I should do to support my family or to like gain money just to live. And I think it draws down to most of us end up picking what is monetarily best. I think at some point in your life that's gonna take a toll on you, because doing something you don't want to do every day of your life, though it's sustaining you, you're living to work, you're not working to live, which I thought was kind of sad, honestly. Or in college, one of the most common questions is like, what's your major? And that's a fine question, but it's such a boring question. And I think that really takes a lot away from the person, a lot from your personality, because we make assumptions from those things. So depending on what somebody tells us is their major or their occupation, then I think that does draw some stigmas to it. For example, if I tell you I'm an art major and I want to be an art teacher, a positive like assumption you might make is like, oh, this person's really passionate about what they do, and they don't care what people tell them. They're gonna do what they believe in regardless, because it's known to not draw a lot of money, and there's not a lot of career options, and it's very rare for you to make a decent amount of money doing that. So you might assume that, or you might assume that, oh, this guy picked such an easy major, he's just in college to party, or he's just lazy. This is just a lazy person who's doing this just because they can't do something like a STEM field. So that would be a negative assumption, and that's kind of sad that we make those based off of like just what somebody's majoring in life, which sometimes those are valid. Some people are doing it because they don't feel like putting in work, but that shouldn't be the assumption that we're all making. If I was majoring in biochemistry, that's known to be difficult, and people are probably going to assume you're smart regardless of knowing what your grades are, and they're probably going to assume that you're doing well in life. But it's another assumption that though it's positive, it's not always very true. The bottom line in this whole conversation today is that, you know, I don't think we should use our occupation as sort of an self-identifying factor. It's rather than it completely identifying and taking over our lives, we should just use it as a small piece to think of what makes you a person. Because there's so many other things I can learn about somebody rather than this is what they do for work. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to yap about today. I appreciate you watching. If you'd like to see more of the surf, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna bounce around games whenever I make these videos. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. See you later, boppers.